Okay, so we have finished the Sankara Bhashya for the verses starting from verse number 41 till 44. Now we are under sort of an obligation to also run through what Madhusudana Saraswati says, maybe much of it. In the first verse, a couple of things may not be historically very appropriate to discuss, given the social sensitivities around these discussions on caste and stuff like that, which are neither historically nor so socially relevant now, because we have to sort of look for a spiritual engagement beyond identities. But however, because this is a textual thing we are doing, we'll just go through whatever is written here, and we'll, of course, be paying attention to the gist of it, not the details, which could be quite possible touch a few sensitive thoughts somewhere, especially when we are discussing this issue about the Sudras. So Brahmana Kshatriya Visham Sudranam cha Param Tapa Karmani Pravibhaktani Swabhava Prabhavi Gunehi. So that is what I'm saying, that which are born out of Swabhava, that Maya, these are born out of this, and therefore these qualities and these different kinds of activities are sort of divided along these. I mean, they're categorized based on what sort of gunas they represent, and what sort of sanskaras from the previous births, and that's what we had sort of paid attention to so far. Trayanam samasakaranam dijatvena. So the of these three cows we are doing samasakaranam dijatvena Vedadhyanadi Tulya Dharmatva Kathanartham. So what are the special qualities of these castes? We are paying attention to them. Jati Tvena Veda Anadhikaritva Jnapanartham. That is mentioned Sudranam iti Prithakaranam Ekam. Why is he mentioned Brahmana Kshatriya Visham in one word and then Sudranam Cha? He's got sort of putting them as a different category, and he's paying attention to it as to what could be one of the regions, because these are Dvijatiyas and the Sudras. I mean, given the kind of societal conditions in which this was being discussed, they were not considered. I mean, the Upanayana Sanskara was kind of not done in their case. Tasatha Vasishtaha Chatpara Varna Brahmana Kshatriya Vaishya Sudraha Tesam Trayo Varna Dvijatiyaha Brahmana Kshatriya Vaishyaha Tesam. Then he's describing. So these are the Traivarnikas, these three castes, and the Sudras were kind of not considered to be born twice because there was no baptism taking place for them. Matur agre dhi jananam dvitiyam maunji bandhane atrasya mata savitri pita tvacharya uchyate. So matuhu agre adhijananam. So first these Traivarnikas are born for their mother's womb, and second time Mauji Vandhane. So that particular Maunja Vandhana, a certain dry grass out of which a towel kind of a thing was there, and they're supposed to sort of wear it. Sometimes this upavita that we're wearing, which is made of thread now, was made of that Maunja, that particular grass those days. So there are different kinds of theories whether these upavitas were meant to be used by the Brahmins or Kshatriyas or Vaishyas on every day on a special occasions. There are two views on it, that on a special puja dates or yagyas and all, they used to wear this because this Monja Dharanam is not very easy, this Monji Vandhana. Atra Asya Mata Savitri, and therefore on that particular day when they are having this Upanina Sanskara, the baptism, Pitatva Acharya Uchyate. Tatha Prativishishtam Jatu Vanyam Sthana Visesatcha. So therefore, each one of them have their specialities because of the place of their emergence. I mean, there is very mythical. The purpose of the Purusha Shukta is not necessarily to say that first thing Purusha or the Ishvara is Niravayava. He doesn't have hands and legs and something like that. But in the Purusha Shukta that is mentioned, and therefore the different varnas have their own levels of importance, keeping in view the figurative description from where they emerge from Purusha. Now, first of all, Vedanta refuses to accept that Purusha has any avayava. It doesn't have a body. So this is essentially Arthavada, which is Stuti Paraka, in order to give respective their importance or to sort of push them to do their duties well. Other than that, it has no fundamental relevance to my mind. Brahmanosya mukhamasid bahu rajanyah kratah urutadasya jadvaishyah padvyam sudra ajayata. This is kind of quoted even by Bhimrao Ambedkar, saying how the Vedic literature itself is sort of loaded with a lot of emphasis given to the caste system. So this is a Purusha Shukta. Brahmanasya mukhamasid. The face of this Purusha was the Brahmins. They came out of that. Bahu Rajanyaha Kritaha. And this the Kshatriya, sort of the arms of this Purusha, Uruta Dasya Jadavaishya. They came out of the thighs. Padvyam Sudra Ajayata. And the Sudras emerged out of the feet. Okay, in one philosophical sense, you say that the body is completely useless if the legs are not fine, if the feet are not on place, it cannot stand. In that sense, they're the foundation of society. But if you look at it in a very critical way, essentially, it was a division of labor in which the real hard labor was done by the Sudras. Ityapi nigamo bhavati gayatya. Then there is another text where it says, Gayatya brahmanam asrujat त्रिष्टुभा राजन्यम जगत्या वैश्यम न केनचित् छन्दसा शूद्रम iti asanskara vijnayate iti. So there is this another argument as to why there is no specific sanskara karma prescribed for the Sudras, why he's explaining it. The argument is like this. He's saying that the Brahmins were created by the Gayatri Chanda, which is considered to be a very sacred meter, and there was the Trishtuv Chandya, out of which the Kshatriyas were created, and there was Jagati Chanda, where the Vaishyas were created, and Gayatri Chanda is given a lot of importance because there's a whole story about these different chandas in the Upanishads. There's a great deal of discussion on this, and so in that context, actually, they are saying that there is no mention as to from where the Sudras emerged, and therefore they are not having any sanskara karma applicable to them. That is what he's saying. Sudra Saturtha Varna Eka Jati Riti Cha Gautamaha. So all these three varnas have sanskaras mentioned there. In case of Sudras, there is nothing mentioned, and therefore they are Eka Jati, so the born ones only. He parantapa satrutapana tesham chaturnam api varnanam karmani prakarshena vibhaktani itiritara vibhagena vyavasthitani. So Bhagavan is saying, He parantapa, please understand that all these four varnas have their specific qualities. They kind of inherited by them in the light of their swabhava. What is that swabhava? What is the cause of the way they behave? Or they are kind of likely to take up different responsibilities. Kaihi swabhava prabhavi gunehi, from where? Where from they got all these gunas? Swaprabhava prabhavair. What is that? Swaprabhava prabhavai gunehi. These are the Brahmanyadi swabhavasya prabhavair hetubhutehi gunehi satvadivihi. The different kinds of varnas got their qualities from sattvas, rajas, and tamas, or a mixture of these, and which is the cause of how they behave. Tathahi brahmana swasvabhavasya sattvaguna eva prabhava prasantatvat. So what is the cause of the way the Brahmins behave? He's saying that their causal guna is sattvika, the sattva guna. Kshatriya swabhavasya sattva upasarjanam rajaha Ishvara Swabhavatvat. And then Sattva Upasarjana, they will have 33% Sattvic and another 66% the Rajasic, Raja. Okay. Vaishya Swabhavasya, and Vaishyas also have similarly. Tama Upasarjanam Raja Iha Swabhavatvat. What is Iha? Iha is Chesta. The desire, the craving, not craving is the wrong word, but kind of that zeal to achieve things, that perseverance all the time. Sudra Swabhavasya Rajopasarjanam Tamo Mudha Swabhavatvat. And then in case of the Sudras, they kind of relegate it to the point. One of the reasons why you have such a backlash from them, and rightly so perhaps, because of the way the Shastras kind of talk about them, which is not very nice. So because they're Mudha Swabhava, because they're mostly dull-minded, that's what the Shastra says. I think these are the aspects of the Shastra that we need to sort of look at and put them in the, put them in the corner of our discussion, not in the center, because they are not historically relevant anymore. अथवा मायख्य प्रकृतिः स्वभावः ततः उपादानात् प्रभुवो येषां तेहि. Or the other one, which Shankaracharya had said, that the swabhava is swaswabhava prabhavehi. What is that swaswabhava? That is the Maya. Swaphalabhimukha, and that is Maya ka swabhava. Tataha upadanat, and that is the material cause of all of us, and therefore prabhava. So we are born out of that. Prag bhavya sanskara vartamane bhave. Whatever impressions we have in the previous birth, bhave, स्वफलाभिमुखत्वेन अभिव्यक्तः स्वभावः. And these sanskaras and impressions we have from our last birth, previous birth, vartamane bhave, in this life, स्वफलाभिमुखत्वेन अभिव्यक्तः, and they want to give results. The sanskaras that we have, the investments we have made in different qualities, they're going to give results, and that is what is there. Abhivyakta, now they're having prakasha. They're appearing, they're manifesting, they're going to give their results. Sa nimitattvena prabhava yesam itiva. Or these qualities or our sanskaras of last birth, they are the cause of the way we sort of appear with different kind of qualities in this life. Shastrasyavi purusha svabhavya sapekhyatva shastrena praviktani api gunehi praviktani iti uchyante. Then there are certain gunas which are mentioned in the Shastras. Like, for example, the Shastras will say that, in Smriti Shastras mostly, that the Sattvic guna is predominantly in case of Brahmins, the Rajasic guna is predominantly in the Kshatriyas, and the Tamasic guna is predominantly in case of the Vaishyas. So all this, whatever is mentioned, you can also say that, Tama, Rajasika, both Vaishya and Kshatriya Rajasika, but Sattvika 33% in case of Kshatriyas and Tamas 33% in case of the Vaishyas, whereas the Sudras were supposed to have 66% Tamas and only 33% about Rajas. तथा हि गौतमः द्विजातीयानाम् अध्ययनम् इज्या दानम brahmanasya adhikaha. So first we're saying there is so praviktani iti uchyante akhyatanam artham bodhayitam adhikari saktim sahakarini iti nyayat. So what I'm saying is that there are a lot of vakyas, Veda vakyas, a lot of injunctions like swarga kama jajeta. So or say for example Dasapurna Masabhyam Yajeta Swarga Kamaha. Now there are different kind of adhikaras. Whenever there is a mention of particular yajna, it verily mentions there are different other vakyas who says that who can do the yajnas, who are the karmadhikaris, and it's kind of limited to the Trivanikas. Whereas in case of Shiyana Yaga and a couple of other yagas, you have also non-Trivanikas can do. But in that case, the priests will be doing it, and they are not supposed to have the necessity to have to read these Vedas and stuff like that. Somewhere it's mentioned. So all these are traditional debates. They're historically done, and they're from a contemporary standpoint not at all relevant. But then that is the tradition. So we have to look at them and we have to see what to take and what to leave behind. So he's saying, so what he's saying is that, so akhyatanam artham. So if you say yajeta, so that is the akhyatatva and lingtva, that's how we know. So he's saying that adhikara thing is karana, adhikari shakti sahakaraniti nyayat. So it also gives additional explanation as to what is that akhyata. Yajeta means who can do that. Whether it is a man or a woman, whether it is one person or many people, depending on that akhyata, that dhatvartha, we can conclude that whether it is one person. Okay, if it's plural, it will be something else. So that is how we can draw things out of that. Tathahi Gautamaha Dvijatiyanam. So he's saying the specific varnas will have some additional qualities. There will be some sadharana dharma. He is going to explain that. तथा हि गौतम द्विजातीयानाम् अध्ययनम् इच्छया दानम ब्राह्मणस्य अधिकः प्रवचन याजन प्रतिग्रहः. So all these dvijatiyas, those are born twice, the dvijas, twice borns, they have certain normal activities, and all of them are supposed to do it. One is adhyanam, so they will all study. Ijya, these yajnas and all, and danam, giving charitable work. Brahmanasya adhikaha pravachana yajana pratigraha. So what is the extra thing the Brahmins will do? The Brahmins will do pravachana, they will also teach. The yajana, they will go and do yagas. And pratigraha, if somebody gives dana, they are supposed to receive it. It's their duty actually. So if somebody is having a shraddha or something, there's a Brahmin is very tired, but in a village you will find that he's obliged to go, because if he doesn't go, there'll be a social problem in the village. If somebody's father died, or there is a certain festival in somebody's house, he says that I need your service. You have to show up at my house. Whatever be his condition, he tries to find a way to go there, because otherwise that function will be affected. They will not let him peacefully live in their village. Purveshu niyamastu, and these are all mentioned, that these are general, and then the general things is adhyana, ijya, dana, and all this. These are special things. Rajodhikam rakshanam sarvabhutanam nyaya dandatvam. So they will do the extra thing, that they will protect the humans and animals of their kingdom, and then also do justice. They will also sort of mediate between conflict parties and render justice. And danda to punish the people who break the law. Vaishyasya adhikam krishi vanik pasupalyam kushitam cha. The Vaishyas, the merchants or the traders, are having the right, or they are generally inclined to do cultivation, krishi, and vanik. Vanik is that trading, commercial activities, and pasupalyam, animal husbandry, Kushidamcha, and also money lending if they can, make investments and stuff like that, giving money in lieu of extra interest. Sudrasya Chaturtha Vano Eka Jati Tasyapi Satyam Akrudha. And the Sudra is also supposed to have their own dharmas. They'll tell the truth, they'll not get angry. Saucham Achamanartham. And then also they will take a walk, they'll take a bath and do Achamanam before they do prayers and food. Panipada Pakyalam Eva Eke. And they will wash their hands and legs every time they come home from work. And then some people say, Keke, Shraddha Karma Bhritya Bharanam Swadara Vritti. They'll also do Shraddha, like for their parents, they will do the rituals for their forefathers. And Bhritya Bharanam, they'll also take care of their own servants. And Swadara Vritti, they will also protect their wives and take care of the children and stuff. Paricharya Uttaresham. Uttaresham, and they will do Seva of all other people, the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Sudras, and anybody else who can ask for their service, they will do it, like their blacksmiths or other activities they're doing. So they will have to provide the help to others. Atra sadharana asadharanasya dharma uktaha. So there are two kinds of dharmas here. What is the general sadharana dharma, and there is asadharana dharma. Purveshu adhyena, and the sadharana one is adhyena ijya daneshu niyame avasya kartavyatvam natu pravarchana yadana pratigriheshu vrityarthatvad ityarthaha. So the normal thing all of them will do, like adhyena, ijya, dana, etc. But the pravachana yadana pratigraha vrityarthatvad, because that is the only trade which is left to the Brahmins, because they don't do any cultivation, they'll not do any economic activities. So they will do the yaga, and somebody gives a donation, they'll receive it, and they'll go and give talks. Vanik Vanijam Kushidam Briddhi Dhana Prayogaha. Vanik means what? Vanijam, business. Kushidam, that means, Buddhyartha Dhana Prayogaha. So they will do investments. And they'll also give loans, expecting some interest on them. Uttiresham iti sreshtanam dvijatiyanam ityarthaha. What are the others these Sudras will serve? He's saying, okay, it must be other castes. Vasishtopi satkarmani brahmanasya adhyapanam adhyayanam adhyapanam. Vasishta also mentioned somewhere that the 6 karmas which are supposed to be done by the Brahmins are the adhyana and adhyapana, teaching and studying and teaching. Yajno yajanam, they're also there doing nitya, and yajans also they will do. Danam pratigrahasyevi, then dana svikara. These are the supposed to be, normal. I mean, yajna doing for yourself and yajana for even others. Trini rajanyasya adhyanam yajno danam cha. So this is the normal thing. Adhyana, yajna, and dana. That is also the Kshatriyas will do. What is the additional thing they will do? Cha sastrena sa pradapalanam swadharmam Swadharmaha tena jive. That is the what they will do. They will get some credits from the king or from the people. They get some taxation. So they will do yajna, dana, and their adhyayana, and they will do sastrena, so prajapalanam. So they'll wield the weapons to protect their country and people from outside attacks. Etanyava trini vaishyascha krishi vanik pasupalyam kushidam cha. And the three main economic activities for the trading, the business community is that agriculture, trades, and animal husbandry, and then investments. Tesang paricharya sudrasya, and then Vasisha says that the Sudras will provide services to these three groups of people, merchants and the royalty and the Brahmins. Apastambopi, and then Apastamba, the Dharma Sutras. He has also mentioned somewhere. Chatvara Varna Brahmana Kshatriya Vaishya Sudraha Tesam Purva Purva Janmadaha Shriyana. So you see, as you look at Dharma Shastra, slowly the birth thing is coming in. Earlier it was mostly Guna Karma Samannita, but if you look at it from the back door, the hereditary thing is coming in. So Apastamba so Chatvara Varnaha Brahmana Kshatriya Vaishya Sudraha Tesam Purva Purva Janmadaha Shriyana. By birth they are superior. That means what? The heredity is coming in here. Swakarma Brahmanasya Adhyayanam Adhyapanam Yajno Jajanam Danam Pratigrahanam Dayadyam. She's adding certain things. Apastamba. So Dayadyam means, whatever money or land your forefathers have, then you have to look after them. Silonchadi. So any other activities that they will do. Anyacha aparigrihitam. So they can do other activities, they cannot take any money. Okay. They say, for example, they'll go and help somebody do something. They cannot take money because they're supposed to be Brahmins. Only when they're doing spiritual work, they might get certain donations. Otherwise, they cannot ask for money. They are not supposed to be laborers. एतान्येव क्षत्रियस्य अध्यापन यादन प्रतिग्रहणानि इति परिहाय युद्धदंडाधिकानि. So in case of Kshatriyas, the Brahmanas activities like Swadhyaya, Yajana, and Adhyapana and Pratigrahana. These four activities they will drop. So they will not do Veda Adhyayana every day. Nor they will go and teach somebody. They will do their Adhyayana first, but they will not do Swadhyaya Aditavya every day, no. Because they don't have to carry forward the Vedic literature for the next generation. That is the responsibility of the Brahmins. Then Adhyapana, teaching, that also they will not do. Then Yajana, doing yaga for any particular person, they will not do it. And Pratigrahanam, Dana, Shikara, no, they will not do it. They can give Dana, but they cannot take Dana. Parihaya Yuddha Dandadhikani. So they will fight the wars, they will fight wars, and they will also punish people, maintain law and order. Kshatriya Vada Vaisyasya. And therefore, in case of Vaisyas, Danda Yuddha Varjam, Danda and Yuddha, maintaining law and order and warfare. They will abandon that. What do they take up extra? Krishi, Gorakhya, Vanidyadi, Adhikam. Vanijya Adhikam. So they will do, these are the three extra virtually vis-a-vis the royals. Paricharya, Sudra, Iteresam, Varnana. And they will do this paricharana or services, they will provide the Sudras to all other groups of people. Manurapi, Adhyapanam, Adhyayanam, Yajanam, Yajanam, Tatha, Danam, Pratigraham, Shaiva, Brahmananam, Akalpayat. So that is saying that the Manu, he is giving these laws so far the Brahmins are concerned. They cannot do any other thing. That is very critical. You must have seen that in certain trade ceremonies, the Brahmin boys are kind of prohibited from doing cultivation directly. They will not climb trees, they'll not do fishing, and a lot of restrictions on their economic activities. Adhyapanam, Adhyayanam, Yajanam, Yajanam, Tatha. So they'll study, they will teach, they will do their own yajan, and they'll also do yaga for others. Danam Pratigraham Seva, they'll do charity, they'll give. Also, they will take charity donations. Seva, Brahmananam, Akalpayat. That is what is mentioned. For Kshatriyas, Prajanam Rakhyanam Danam. They'll protect the people from outside attacks or from any kind of conflict within. Then Danam Ijyadhyanam Ivacha, and they will do Danam, charity work, and they will do their Nitya Agnihotra, all kinds of activities themselves. Adhyanam Eva, and they will study. Vishesu Aprasaktim, that is very important. So they should not get too much attached to Vishaya Sukha because they are fighters. When there is a war, they have to run. So they cannot have too much of Vyasana. They have to stay away from it. Cha Kshatriyasya Samadhisat. So that is our Sankhepataha. is given as adesha for the Kshatriyas. Pasunam Rakhanam Danam. In case of Vaishyas, they will do protection of the animals, the cattle. Danam ijya dhyanam evacha. And they will do also their own yajna every day and also do study the Vedas. Banik patham kushidam cha. And they will be on the path of trading, doing business, and also money lending and investing money. Vaisyasya Krusimevacha. I also do the agricultural activities. Ekam eva tu sudrasya. And the sudras, Prabhu Karma Samadhisata. They will follow their masters. Ete sam eva varnanam susrsam ananusuya. And they will do other, anasuya, anasusava, anasuya, without any kind of vengeance, without kind of competition or jealousy or anything. They should serve other castes. Okay, that's one of the reasons why these political scene is so hot, because no one likes these kind of sentences that are written in the text, and we have to historicize them, that they're products of time and they don't have any fundamental relevance beyond a certain point of history. Tatra Brahmanasya Swabhavika Gunakritani Kartavyani Aha. What are the Brahmin's duties? These part is a little interesting. There's something to learn, but whatever is mentioned for Brahmins, I personally think that anybody who is sattvic or anyone who is sort of oriented towards a more spiritual life can emulate. Let's look at what does he say about it. Samo Antakarana Uparamha. Did I leave out something? So in these verse number 42, he starts Samo Damas Tapasoucham Shantirarjama Evacha Jnanam Vijnanam Astikyam Brahma Karma Swabhavajam. So he's explaining each and every word in this verse, Madhusudana Saraswati. What is Shama? Antakarana Uparamaha. So withdrawal of this Antakarana, sort of pacifying it, the Mana Buddhi, Chitta Hankara, they should not be too much restless. Pacifying them, quietening them. Dhamma, Bahya Karanam Uparamaha Praguptaha. So the Indriya Nigraha, basically pacifying or quietening your external senses. Tapaha, Sariradi, Deva Dviji Guru Pragya Ityado Uktam. So in the verse number of the 17th chapter, 14 to 16, Deva Dvija Guru Pragya Pujanam. These are all mentioned there as tapasya. So that is what is tapas is mentioning. So with your body, you're sort of trying to do a lot of seva and help and stuff like that, which you can look at this verse number 14, 16, and 17th chapter. Sauchamapi Bahya Bhamtara Bhedena Praguktam. So Bahya Saucha and Anta Saucha, and that we have discussed, that purifying your mind, that is Anta Saucha, keeping it clean, not thinking against others or harboring dirty thoughts. That is what is Anta Saucha. Bahi Saucha is taking a bath and wearing clean clothes, stuff like that. Shantihi Shama Akrustasya Taditasya va Manasi Vikararahityam Prag Vyakhyatam. So it has been explained earlier that if somebody is actually doing some kind of akrosha against you, just using harsh words, trying to trouble you, or taditasya, or you're sort of being physically harmed by somebody, manasi vikara rahityam prag vyakhyatam. So you need to sort of pass through that painful experience without sort of harboring any kind of negative thoughts about that person. That is what he's saying, that is kyanti, being ability to forgive somebody who has made a mistake of misbehaving or being rude with you. Arjavam Akautilyam Praguktam. Arjavam is absence of kutilata, straightforward nature, being sarala, being straight. Jnanam, Sangha Veda Tadartha Vishayam. So Jnanam is what? Sangha, Angena Shaha, all the Sadanga of the Vedas. Okay. So with Vyakarana, Kalpa, Shikha, this, all this with this, totally you study the Vedas, including Jyotisha and Ayurveda, everything. That is, with all these Vedas, that is, you study. Vijnana, what is that? Vijnana is of two. Bhagavan has said, I'll tell you that Jnana sa Vijnana, he had mentioned. So he's explaining it. Vijnanam karma kande jagyati karma kaushalyam. So in case if you're in the karma kanda, how to do a yaga. So you have to have the expertise and the knowledge as to how to do it. Brahma Gande Brahmatmika Anubhavaha. So, what is that same Vijnana? When you come to the Upanishadic part of the same Vedas, then the expertise in being able to experience the oneness between you and the absolute Brahman, that is what is Vijnana, the science of uniting with the absolute. Astikyam Satvika Shraddha Praguktaha. What is Astikhi? Satvika Shraddha, having that Satvika, having a without any discomfort, without any resistance, with a kind of pleasant, respectful openness towards truth, mentioned and discussed in the Shastras. Now you'll ask me a question. You are mentioning Shraddha here, and 2 minutes back you were saying that this Varnashrama Dharma she's mentioning is a little troublesome. Yeah, I mean, they together can go because Shraddha doesn't mean you will sort of stop thinking. You have to put it that this is not because of any raga dvesha I'm saying this is bad or good. You have to look at it. What is the historical relevance? What are the historical limitations of some of the things? And some of the things are no more historically relevant. So you have to sort of, because that's not fundamentally to the Upanishadic knowledge. Varnashrama is just ephemeral, isn't it? The central message of the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita is Jiva Brahma is Eka Eva. It's not that the Varnas are very permanent, we have to maintain it. That is incidentally mentioned. For Antakarna Suddhi, where are you starting? What are the livelihoods you have? You start with that. That is what I'm saying. Historically, that was the case. Now, the economy of the society is not arranged around the Varnashrama. And therefore, it's not so much important to emphasize on that. Now we have to look at what are the economic classes, where you're born, what are your social economic responsibilities, and how, given that situation, you can do your Antakarna Suddhi and prepare spiritually to sort of ascend to a higher level of unity with the Absolute. But the historical context have changed. These things perhaps made sense 1,000 years back, not now. Etata Samadhi Samadhi Navakam. So these are the 9 qualities of the Brahmins. Swabhavajam, Sattva Guna, Swabhavagritam, Brahma Karma, Brahmana Jatehe Karma. These are the 9 activities which the Brahmins are supposed to do. Yadyapi Chaturnapi Varnanam Satvika Avastayam Ete Dharmaha. This is the interesting part. Madhusudana Saraswati is coming. Jabki, even though these are mentioned as qualities associated with the Brahmins. However, Sattva Udrega Vashena to अन्यान अपि कदाचित भवन्ति इति शास्त्रांतरे साधारण धर्म तया उक्ताः. So these are considered to be sadharana dharmas. Why? Because sattvika gunas can also arise in big amounts, in big proportions to anyone, depending on his purva punya karmas. So irrespective of where he is born and by whatever name you refer to him, he can have loads of these good qualities. You cannot just say these qualities are limited to Brahmins, and you cannot say Brahmins don't have wrong qualities because that society is wide open. You can check the crime rates and other things and who are good, who are bad. Tathacha Vishnu, in Vishnu Sanhita is mentioning another Smriti Shastra. Shyama Satyam Dama Saucham Dhanam Indriya Sanyamaha Ahimsa Guru Susrusa Tirthanu Saranam Daya Arjavam Lova Sunyatum Deva Brahmana Pujanam Anabhyasviya cha tatha dharma samanya uchyate. So these are general qualities now. These are samanya dharmas. These are for all. It's not about Brahmins or Sudras or others, the Kshatriyas or the Vaishyas. Kshama, having the ability to forgive, telling truth. Damaha, self-control. Saucham, purity. Dhanam, charity. Indriya sanyamaha, that is shama. Dhamma. So Dhamma is twice mentioned. So one would be some physical thing, the other one will be the internal aspects, including mana. Ahimsa, non-violence. And then Guru Sushrusa, respect towards elders, including teachers. Tirthanusaranam, going to pilgrimages. Daya, compassion. So Ahimsa is non-violence, and Daya is positive non-violence, protecting others, compassion, help. Arjavam, straightforwardness. Lobha sunyatam, which will be mentioned later on, akarpanyam, non-miserliness. Deva Brahmana Pujanam. Here, Deva and Brahmana did not mean necessarily caste, but Deva is obviously the Ishvara and the worship of the gods and goddesses. But in addition to that, Brahman could especially mean that having respect for people who are spiritually inclined, who are kind of saintly people. We have to change the interpretation of it. not Brahmana by their birth, but Brahmana by their karma, guna karma, both. If they are, then you respect them. Anavisviya, so not finding faults, not doing jealousy. So tatha dharma samanya uchyate. Samanya chaturnam api varnanam tatha prayana chaturnam api asramanam ityartha. So this samanya dharma is not only of chatur dharmas, chatur varnas, but also the chatura ashramas, like brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa. They are supposed to follow these together. You cannot say I'm a sannyasi, I'll not follow these dharmas. Supposed to be vidheya atma. तथा च बृहस्पति अनादर सत्र धर्म स्मृति शास्त्र दया क्षमा anasuya. So being forgiveful and not having asuya, and he'll explain each of them later on. Anasuya is very, very important. What is anasuya? I'll mention. Non-jealousy, not being, you're not sort of intolerant towards others. We'll see the meaning of it. Saucha anayasa mangalam. Then purity anayasa, having a smooth, spontaneous life. Mangalam, being auspicious. Akapanyam, not being majorly. Aspriham, not being too much attached, not craving. Sarva sadharanani cha. These are general good qualities that everybody should emulate in his life. Okay. Now he will each of these good qualities. Now he's going to sort of explain one by one, and we're going to look at them one by one. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, so we're going to look at one of them. So, Pareva bandhu vargeva mitri dvishtariva sada. Aparne rakitavyam tu daye sa parikirtita. What is daya? It's a beautiful sentence he's writing. Pareva bandhu vargeva. अपने लोग हो या पराये हो, is your people or distant to you. Mitre dveshtariva sada, whether they're your friends or your enemies. Aparne rakidabhyam tu, but they are in trouble, they are in a dangerous condition, in a war, in a disaster, in a calamity, they are in terrible penury. Rakhitabhyam, we should protect them. Daya, daye isa parikitya, that is daya, that is what is kindness. So, what is the meaning of kindness? We know that it is not in return for something. It's an amount of open-hearted ability to help because somebody is in desperate need of help. बाह्ये च आध्यात्मिके वा चैव दुःखे च उत्पदिते क्वचिति न कुप्यति न वा हन्ति सा क्षमा परिकीर्तिता. Whether it is externally or adhyatmike or internally, dukhe cha padite kvichite. Somebody causes you some pain, either physical pain or emotional pain, even then. Na kupyati navahanti. Neither you are angry nor you are trying to hurt him or kill him. Sa kshama parikirtita. So somebody has hurt you, physically or emotionally, you are able to hold back and you are not willing to punish that fellow. That is what is called kshama, forgiveness. No gunan gunino hanti stouti manda gunanapi. Nanya dosi suramate sa nasuya prakirtita. What is anasuya? Anasuya was the name of the mother of the violent sannyasi Durvasa, and she was the wife of famous rishi Atri. Na gunan gunino hanti. You do not criticize the qualities of the people who are guni people, or wise people, good people. Stuti manda gunanapi. And then you also praise, even if somebody has a little bit of good quality, you say, what a good thing he has done. Encourage him to do better. Na anya dosi suramate, and you don't relish in discussing others' problems or weaknesses. Sa na suya parikita, prakirtita, and that is what is, that particular quality is called anasuya. And it's sort of well known. Avakya pariharasya, and what is now we are discussing that, what is saucha? Okay, what is saucha he's discussing now. Avakya pariharasya, what you should not eat, you should stop eating it. Could be meat and fish and alcohol and stuff like that, which is prohibited for certain castes. I should be there, it's not here. Asansargaschapya nirgunehi. And then if there are people without good qualities, avoid meeting with them. Swadharmi cha vyavasthanam, and then your swadharma. Swadharma niyata shreyaha paradharmo bhaya bhayaha. So you stay in your swadharma, stick to your qualities. Saucham etat prakirtitam. This is what is saucha. So the very critical thing here, it's not bahya nanto saucha, taking a bath and cleaning. It's very abhakhya parihara. So it's a good conduct of what you eat, what you don't eat. And then its first thing is ahara, then vihara, where you are doing your friends achara. And then what is meant swadharma vyavasthanam, then achara. So ahara, vihara, achara. These are the three that are mentioned as saucham. Sariram pidyate yana susavhenapi karmana atyantam tanna kartavyam anayasa sauchyate. What is anayasa? Being spontaneous, sahaja, free. You're not trying to sort of extra stretch yourself to achieve anything. That is anayasa. Sariram pidyate jena. If there is a particular subha karma, but you have to hurt yourself, you have to stretch yourself too much. Like they do certain rituals like walking on fire, walking on nails and stuff like that in certain festivals in India. These things are very tamasic things. These are not great things to do. So atyantam tanna kartavyam anayasa sauchyate. This is also a quality of a good, learned, learned good Brahmin. But they're sadharana dharmas of anybody who is spiritual. Then, what is mangalam? How to be auspicious in life? Prasastacharanam nityam, aprasasta visarjanam. Whatever is praiseworthy, that kind of activity you do. Aprasasta visarjanam. Whatever is going to invite calumny, whatever is going to invite ill will or bad reputation, drop that. Don't do it. Aprasasta visarjanam etadhi mangalam prokta. That is what is called mangalam. It's not about blowing a conch or putting a pot of water and putting a lotus flower there when you are going out. That is not what is mangalam. Mangalam is not decorating a house with flowers, but doing things which are praiseworthy and avoiding things which are not praiseworthy or which can bring in bad will and bad reputation. That is mangalam. Stokadavi pradatavyam adinena antaratmana ahanyahanyanthat kinchid akarpanyam hitat smritam. What is akarpanya? Non-miserliness, having open-heartedness, having a bit of a big-hearted approach. What is it? Even if you have a little pradatavyam, whatever little money or anything you have, if you can do some charity, if you do it, or dinina, without behaving like a poor man, if you can donate, if you can help, antaratmana, mentally you should not feel like a poor man. Ahanyahani yatkinchid akarpanyam he tat smritam. So, actually I have seen that. And, all these jatris who do tirtha yatras around Narmada or they go walking to Badrinath, Char Dham Yatra, some monks do it. You'll be surprised that these people who live in the mountains in the Himalayas is called Devabhumi. And now I'm slowly realizing why is it called so. Irrespective of whatever caste, you're just walking, you're a monk, they know it. And you're walking, they figure out you are taking the trekkers, the trekking path, and you're going to Badrinath. If they know, you say, I have to stay here. Whatever be the situation, however poor may be the lady, she'll bring 2, 3 chapatis and a bit of dal or achar there. She'll give it to you and say, okay, Swamiji, you have it. And if you say, can I lie down on your veranda? She said, of course, you can sleep here. She might give you a blanket if it's a little chilly. But they will respectfully treat you. They know that you're doing this. And they will not harm you. But if you go to Puri temple, if you're a monk, nobody cares. Are you one who can give more dakshina? That's what they're looking for. Even South India, they don't have any respect for monks because they're very particular in South India because they think only Dandi Swamis who are having dandas, those sannyasis, supposed to be Brahmins, then the other Brahmins respect. Others, normal sannyasis, they don't have any respect for. They actually detest and they'll throw you away. No respect whatsoever. Only I have seen that only in North India, especially in Punjab, Rajasthan, Himachal, Uttarakhand, they have a lot of respect, even in Bengal. Below Ganges, no, not so much. So, That is what is akapanyam. Then he's saying yathotpannena santosha kartabhyo yarthavastuna parasya achintayitvartham sa spruha parikirtita. What is aspruha? Non-attachment, not absence of craving. Yadut yathotpannena santosha. Jo milega, you're happy. Kartabhyo arthavastuna. And then whatever is it has to be done, you do it. Parasya achintayitva artham. Then you don't look at what others have. That is called aspruha, or freedom from spriha or craving. Ete eva astu atmagunatvena gautamena patitaha. So Gautama, another great Sastrakar, he has also written. But he was very, very orthodox and conservative and took away the rights of women, people say. Yajnavalkya and Gautama both. The Yajnavalkya Upanishad perhaps is not the same one who has written the Smritis, because they are all different. And the Dharma Sastra Yajnavalkya is also very strict with a few things. Atha asto atmaguna daya sarva bhuteshu shanti. So you are supposed to be compassionate to all. That is the qualities of the Brahmins. Gautama is saying. Shantir anasuya. So you are supposed to have that, easy to, having that shanti, that ability to forgive, anasuya, absence of jealousy, Saucham, purity, anayasa, spontaneous ability to lead an ethical life without torturing yourself. Mangalam, we mentioned that, how to do praiseworthy work, avoid what's not praiseworthy. Akapanyam, being big-hearted. Aspriha, not craving at all. Tatha Mahabharate, this is interesting. These things in the Wikishores, you can find out, and you can the couple of sentences which are non-controversial, especially the sadharana dharmas, you can sort of make use of them while talking to students, or sort of telling anybody about what is our actual real dharma, not this varnashrama, but these are the real ethical code of conduct which is mentioned. A lot of people say there is no charity mentioned in Hinduism. You could quote these things. Satyam, damas, tapas, saucham. So these are the things in Mahabharata. Telling truth, damaha, that, indriya sanyama, tapaha, doing that, exertion, tapasya, seva, saucham, purification, santosha, being contented, hri, what is hri, lajja, not doing what is not shastriya, avoiding that. Kshama arjavam, and being forgiveful and all the time being straightforward. Jnanam samodaya dhyanam, and having that shastra jnana, tattva jnana, not the jnana of the material sciences, stuff like that. And shamo, the mental peace, daya, compassion, kindness, dhyana, meditation. Esa dharma sanatana. These are the perennial. And then he explains each of them. These are mentioned there. सत्यम भूत हितम प्रोक्तम. सत्य क्या है? सच बोलना सत्य नहीं है महाभारत में. Satya in Mahabharata means doing good to others. Sarva bhuta hite rataha. Sarva bhuta hitam proktam manusho damanam tapaha. Mental discipline is called damaha. Tapaha swadharma vartitvam, and tapasya is doing what is prescribed for you. Saucham sankara varjanam. Purification is, sort of not engaging in indiscriminate sexual contact to have children. Sankaras, they're saying. Santoso Vishoya Tyago. Santosa is what? Contentment is how? By staying away from the objects of senses, not craving after what is supposed to give you pleasure. Shrihi Akarya Nivartanam. Shri, that lajja, is what? Avoiding what is akarya, sastra pratisiddha karma, not doing it. That is lajja. So when we say nirlaja, it's not shameless, it's actually a person who is violating the prescribed code of ethics. And therefore he is nirlaja. He doesn't have that shastriya lajja that I should not do it. Shama, dvanda sahisnutvam. So Shama is that dvanda, ability to sort of tolerate pleasure and pain. Somebody shouts also, you tolerate. Arjavam samachittata, having that balance of mind, equanimity. That is what is straightforwardness called. Akautilyam or arjavam. Jnanam tattvartha sambodha. You have a good understanding of the tattvartha, jiva brahma aikya. Sama, chitta prasantata. Sama here means that, prasanna chitta, all the time happy, because you are not, if you have all these qualities, you will definitely remain all the time happy. What is daya? Bhuta hitei sitvam. You are full of compassion, you want to help others. You want to live a life for others. That is what is daya. Dhyanam nirvisayam manaha. Your mind should be there, but without any attention to the external world with an attitude of craving. If you don't have it, that is dhyana. Then Devala Smriti, another says he's sort of quoting. He's a scholar, so he's quoting a lot of people to sort of inspire us. The good part of it is very good. Sauchodanam tapas shraddha guru sheva kshamadaya vijnanam vanaya satyam iti dharma samuchaya. Devala Smriti says, Saucham, purity, danam, tapaha, shraddha, guru sheva, kshamadaya. Because it's all explained, I don't want to repeat explaining them. You already know what they mean. Vijnanam, that karma kanda means all the rituals, and jnana kanda means jiva brahma ekya. Here Vijnana already has mentioned tattvartha sambodha, and he says Vijnanam vinayaha, that humility, satyam, helping others, iti dharma samuchaya, also telling the truth but also helping others. Tatha Bratopavasa niyamaihi sariro uttapanam tapaha. So you do the bratas and the fastings and all the niyamas that you have to take a bath in the morning and all that. Sarira uttapanam, you sort of energize the body. If you do follow these rules, that is what is tapasya. Tapasya means heating of the body, not for wrong purposes, but right purposes. Raising the body out of the clutches of tamas. Pratyo sarvakaryeshu tatha shraddhet udahrataha. Sarva dharma karyeshu. What is shraddha? So you have a positive oriented towards all the dharma karyas. Like, for example, you want to do a bit of tapasya and niyama and do the morning prayers and meditations and help others, whatever we had discussed at the top. Nasti ह्यश्रद्धानस्य कर्म कृत्य प्रयोजनम. जो श्रद्धावान नहीं है, the person who doesn't have that astikya buddhi, there is no need for him to do any dharma karma. Yat punar vaidike naam cha laukike naam cha sarvasaha. And then whether it's vaidika karma or laukika karma, whatever is there, dharanam sarva vidyanam vijnanam iti kirtyate. So all these, the vaidiki or laukika and all these ability to remember them and practice them, that is the vijnana thing. Vinayam Dvividam Prahu, and the humility of two types. Saswat Dhamma Samo iti. So that Sama and Dhamma, that is what is Vinaya. So all the time, simultaneously being able to practice Sama and Dhamma, that gives you Vinaya. You'll definitely become humble because you have complete control over your senses as well as your mind. Sesa Vakhyata Prayamiti, Shesham, Brakyata Prayamiti, Vasanani, no Likitani, Jagyavalkya. Jagyavalkya is again saying something. Ijyachara Dama Hingsa, Dana Swadhyaya Karmanam, Ayam tu Paramo Dharma, Yad Yogenatma Darshanam. Ijya, you're doing your rituals, and then Achara, good activities, good behavior that you were supposed to do. Ahimsa, non-violence, and Dana, and Swadhyaya, studying your spiritual text of this karmas. Ayam tu paramo dharma, you should do it definitely without any avoidance. Why? Yadu yogena atma darshanam. When you do all that as part of your yoga, they help you in preparing yourself to have atma darshana. Iyam sa sarva daivi sampat prag vakhyata. We have discussed that earlier, when we discussed that chapter 16. Brahmanasya swabhaviki itaresham naimitiki iti na virodha. So these qualities are supposed to be there without any deviation, without exception in the Brahmins. Therefore, that's like their swabhava. It doesn't mean it will not appear with others, or Brahmins will not deviate from this. That is swabhava. They're supposed to be like that. A person who is Brahmin by his nature, by his knowledge, by his karma. And then in others also these might appear, but they are namitik in the sense they have done some sadhana, they have done some study, and then they developed it. And now verse number, okay, we have just hit the timeline. Maybe we have 2 more minutes. We'll try to finish verse number 43, 44, the same thing. Sauryo tejo dhritir dakyam juddhe chapya palayanam dhanam ishwara bhavasya kshetra dharma swabhavajam. So he is quickly explaining this. Sauryam vikramo balavattaran api prahartum prabritihi. So Saurya is, the ability, the daring to even take on and have a fight with people who are even more powerful than you. Teja pragalbhyam. What is pragalbhyam? It's not mad talk. It's about parehi adharshanyatvam, not being defeated, indefatigable. So you are sort of You have that staying power. Dhritihi Mahatyam api vipadi dehendriya sanghatasya anavasadaha. What is dhriti? That resolve, that staying power. Even if you have a sudden dangerous situation like the war is going on, if you have natural calamity, you are sort of holding your body, dehendriya sanghata, that is this karyakarana sanghata, anavasadaha. It doesn't fatigue, it doesn't panic, it doesn't run away. That is what is dhriti, the resolve to hold on. दाक्ष्यम दक्ष्य भावः सहसा प्रत्युत्पन्नेषु कार्येषु अव्यामोहेन प्रवृत्तिः. What is दाक्ष्य? That expertise. The difference between a normal guy and expert is that the expert doesn't panic. He looks at a complex situation and thinks about it, how to do it. He draws a plan and starts doing it. That is what he explains. That without sahasa pratyutpannesu, suddenly there is a situation, and karyeshu, there is a challenge. Avyamohena, and absolutely there is no problem with you. You can quietly engage with it. Yuddhe cha apalayanam aparangmukhi bhavaha. So you are not running backwards when you are faced with your enemy or challenger. That is the Kshatriya Swadharma. Danam asankochana vitteshu. And what is that? You should not be miserly while giving donation. That is dana. Swasattva parityagena parasattva apadanam. That is a normal definition of what is dana. Dana is अपना अधिकार, धन अधिकार का वर्जन करके हुए दूसरे का धन अधिकार हम बनाते हैं. सो स्व सत्व, स्वत्व इज धन, स्व सत्व, terminating one's ownership of something, parityagena, paraswatva apadanam. Then you're creating wealth for somebody. Like earlier days, they were giving some land or a cow, a bit of gold. So the swa sattva parityagena, parasatva apadanam. ईश्वर भाव प्रजापालनार्थानाम ईशितेभ्येषु प्रभु शक्ति prakatikaranam cha. So in order to protect the people, you have to show them that you have that coercive power to maintain law and order. So you're saying that I'm Prabhu. If you don't obey me, I'm going to beat you up. I'm going to punish you for that. Kshetra karma kshetriya prayoja jatehe vihitam karma. That is kshetra dharma. Whatever kshetra karma is prescribed for them. Swabhavajam. Sattva upasardhana rajoguna swabhavajam. So with a bit of sattva guna, that's what I am saying. There's a bit of this 44, not much. Krishi Gaurakhya Vanijam Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam Paricharyatmakam Karma Sudrasyapi Swabhavajam. Krishir Atro Utpatyartham Bhumer Vilekanam, cultivation. Bhumehe Vilekanam. They do that karshana, that is Krishi. Gorakhya se bhavo gorakhyam pasupalan, animal husbandry is gorakhya. Banijam Banijaha Karma Kriya Vikriyadi Lakshanam. So purchasing and selling, the barter system was there, trade basically. Kushidam Api Atra Antargamaniyam. Kushidam, as I told you, investment or giving loan to earn interest. Vaishya Karma, Vaishya Jatehe Karma, Swabhavajam. Tama Upasardana, Rajo Guna Swabhavajam. So they'll have 33% of the tamasic thing, pleasure orientedness, and the rest is kind of rajasic. Paricharyatmakam dvijatiya susrasatmakam karma sudrasyapi swabhavajam. Raja upasarjana tamo guna swabhavajam. So in case of sudras, as we discussed earlier, that they are sort of 33% will be rajasic, active nature, but largely it's all sort of, as I say, tamasic. But then it's given the kind of situation. I mean, you have to sort of look at it as a pinch of salt and put it in a historical context, and then say that, this is not about actually the people who are born in different castes, even though it's mentioned like that, but it's people who are born with certain dispositions, and they could be anywhere. Now, these days, you might find that somebody may be a Brahmin, but working as a receptionist, or maybe a bellboy, or maybe selling something, he's a tradesperson, or he may be doing anything. I have seen in Delhi, for example, if you go to Karol Bagh station, you'll find a lot of Brahmins pulling rickshaws. So they're working like Sudras, right? So situations have changed. The historical conditions have changed. And we have to sort of look at the texts to make sense of it. You have to do historical appreciation in the sense that you have to look at what is of use and what needs to be sort of understood in a historical context. So I'll stop here and we'll carry forward tomorrow. So we'll do the simple. I hope if you have any questions, you can ask.